G'day everyone and Happy New Year. One of the things that Sarah does on New Year's Day each year is to acknowledge one of our unsung road safety champions. And we do this with what we call the Alex Award. We created the Alex Award a number of years ago in recognition of Senator Alex Gallacher, who was a great Australian road safety hero. He fought for every one of us to ensure that we can get home safe. So when the Senator died on the 29th of August 2021, Sarah decided that we needed to create an award in his name. And just by chance, we found out that the good Senator, whose birthday was 1st January 1954, which meant that on New Year's Day, every single year, we could actually talk about someone and both remember Senator Gallacher, but also remember one of our other unsung heroes. So for those who don't really know about Senator Gallagher, I want to play the announcement in Commonwealth Parliament on the day that he died. You'll hear very briefly the then Prime Minister Morrison speak, followed by the opposition leader Albanese. I think it's worthwhile to get that context. And after that, we'll actually make the announcement of the 2025 winner. Stay with me.
All on this side of the House, and I'm sure across the whole House, and indeed the other chamber, which is adjourning, Mr Speaker, are deeply saddened by the news of the passing of Senator Alex Gallacher. Senator Gallacher served in this parliament for 10 years. Born in Scotland, his father headed out here, in Senator Gallagher's own words, for a better chance for him and his family. That's what this country is all about. That's the country he served. We extend our deepest sympathies to all of you. Senator Gallacher's family also, we send our love and our prayers to them also on this terrible day. And may God bless him, may God bless all of you, and may our colleague and friend rest in peace. A motion will be moved, Mr Speaker, tomorrow, which will provide the opportunity for all members to speak to that motion. But here today, we just simply acknowledge him and thank him for his wonderful service, and remember him and what he's done for our country. And we think of his family most of all.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Thanks, Mr Speaker. I thank the Prime Minister for his warm words and for his message of condolences. It is indeed sad news, the passing of a sitting senator, Senator Alex Gallacher. Alex represented South Australia in the Senate since 2010. He was born in Scotland on the first day of 1954 and came to Australia 12 years later with his parents, like so many migrants, to seek a better life. In his first speech in the Senate, he named his priorities as the transport sector, superannuation and road safety. In that first speech, he quoted US President Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "Far and away the best prize life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing." Alex did that. He did that as a working man, as a truck driver and in the transport sector, as a transport union official, and then as a senator. Alex's career was indeed a fine one. We in Labor are very proud of Alex. He was a conscientious, no-nonsense man who knew what he stood for. Along with his mate Stirling, he was a long-time member of the Senate Rural and Regional Affairs and Transport Committee, and he particularly prioritised road safety on behalf of the Australian Labor Party, for which he was a dedicated member and which he loved and truly served completely every day. We express our condolences to his family, to his friends. May he rest in peace, and we will have an opportunity to more formally honour Senator Gallacher from tomorrow.
So for those who didn't really know who Senator Alex Gallacher was, I hope that gives you a bit of an understanding of his commitment to the road safety space. And of course now, it's my pleasure to announce the 2025 Alex Award recipient. He's a former truckie who has not only dedicated his life to improving road safety within the transport industry, but to improving road safety for every Australian. The 2025 Alex Award recipient is Senator Glenn Sterle. So congratulations, Glenn, and let's hear from one of your colleagues who's got responsibility for road safety within the Commonwealth Government. Assistant Minister for Regional Development, the Senator, the Honourable Anthony Chisholm.
It's good to be with you. Glenn obviously has a long history in the transport sector as a driver, as a Transport Workers Union official, and then he brought that passion to the Senate. There's one thing you know about Glenn is his passion and commitment to road safety. He lives and breathes it 24/7, and he's used his position as a senator to effectively and passionately advocate to improve road safety right across the sector, benefiting workers, but also families and communities at the same time. So well done, Glenn, on your advocacy. I know that you'll be really honoured to receive this award, named in honour of your great mate, Alex. Well done, mate.
I'm just humbled, and I can honestly say there are far, far, far many people, I think, more worthy than me, mate, but I will proudly accept it because of it just reminds me of my old great mate that like I said, I do miss him every day, mate. But he was such a warrior and an advocate for road safety.
Oh. And
we need more of Alex and we need more of you, Peter, so we're going to have less fatalities, mate. And we're all going to get in it together. So thank you so much. And I just hope this year brings far better numbers than what we're seeing now. Road safety has been forefront of my mind and my family's for many years. And if I can just share this with the rest of your people and anyone else listening, I never realised what I had I never realised what my dad had put my mum through all those years of being away and no telephone, to hear that there was a truck crash. And the first thing was, oh, is he all right, you know? Until we got to work, to Dad's work, and then there'd be a message saying, oh, he's left Sydney or he's left Melbourne. Then I didn't realise what I put my mum through, and I became a long-distance truck driver with no telephones, to hear that there'd been a rollover or a head-on or, you know, a terrible accident. And I know that my now wife, my girlfriend at the time, because we didn't have telephones. And then it actually sunk in with me, Peter, when my son, the third generation, became a truck driver. And every time you hear there's a rollover or a head-on, oh my God, the first thing you know, and you dread that phone call, as most of us could appreciate. Until one morning, my phone rang it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. And my son was up the road. He was still living at home then. Wow, the fear that went through my body. And it was my mate who was on the eastern seaboard, who somehow was walking along the beach at the Gold Coast, who for some reason thought it was 5 o'clock in the morning there, or 3 or 4, 6 o'clock, who thought the time difference was the other way around, and he was ringing me at 8 o'clock in the morning. My God, didn't he cop it? But just to send that message through, you know, that I've lived this all my life, my working life, mate, the fear of, you know, that one phone call. So hence, mate, of course, my work now, you know, it's still in road safety, and I'm pleased to have sat at the side with Alex and all his years, and him lecturing me every time we sat down and had a beer after work about what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing, and what we need to do on road safety. And mate, I'll never fill his shoes, never. But my goodness, you know, I'm going to give it every chance I can, mate. So hence I get road safety, particularly for our heavy vehicle operators.
Yeah, and look, I've got to say, I think I mentioned to you, I got my certificate as a heavy vehicle driver because of my CPAP machine, and also, you know, suffering from a raft of things, including psychological issues, obviously still since Sarah's death. It would cost me about $2,000 to go through the specialist every year to get my actual license. So I put that on hold, but I've got also 2 sons who are heavy vehicle drivers as part and parcel of their work. You're probably familiar, I'm also a rural firefighter, and my youngest son drives one of the tenders, as does my eldest son, Benny. He's got his own heavy vehicle. He's a carpenter and pulling around really large, in fact, he's driving a tip truck as well as part of his work. So my relationship with heavy vehicle drivers, even though Sarah was obviously killed by a distracted truck driver, has been very firm. I do some writing for big rigs and the like, because our position is everyone's got a right to get home safe to their loved ones every day, no exceptions. And that's the key. There is no exception to that. So your work in terms of being a truckie initially and being your own boss as well, a truck driver, you've gone through and experienced all of that every day. And the other salient point that you've just made is the fact that it's those at home who are the ones who are waiting for you to arrive safe. And it's not safely, it's not about you driving, it's about everyone looking after each other on the roads so that everyone gets home safe, no exceptions. And I know that that's fundamentally, both in terms of Alex and your work, it's about everyone who's out there using our roads and highways, every road user, every pedestrian. And I think that's become increasingly important for me, because too often people are then vilified for the generic that they belong to, whether it's cyclists, whether it's truckies, whether it's pedestrians. And for us, I think the important lesson, and especially from Alex, that I learned, was bringing everyone together and saying this is our common purpose, to get everyone home safe. I often get quite disheartened when, all political persuasions have agreed that we've got to reduce the number of people killed and seriously injured, killed by 50% by 2030, which would take it to less than 571, so 570. And you look at where we are now, and we'll have increased to from about 1,200 4 years ago up to 1,300 people. And we've got 60 years to go. We're in the wrong direction. And I think your advocacy is actually incredibly important in this space. And I think that needs to be well and truly recognised, not just as part and parcel of this award that we've created in Alex's name, but to celebrate our achievements and those who are providing that leadership. And for me, when we created this award, and I remember talking to you and then to Alex's wife to make certain this is the appropriate thing to do, how wonderful it is for us to be able to acknowledge a person, what I call the unsung heroes in road safety, on the 1st of January, to start off that new year on Alex's birthday. How wonderful is that?
How moving it was to recognise the great man's work. And especially as it is his birthday too. And Peter, if I can say, we look at all the markers now. I mean, everything's going the wrong way. And to look, particularly here in Western Australia, mate, it is just frightening. It's frightening. And you look at the quality of the vehicles nowadays, and you look at the quick responses we can get now to accidents, and yet, we've got cars that are dumbing down driving, and yet we're seeing the figures heading the wrong way. And that's why I'm strongly advocating for the heavy vehicle industry, because, we talk 1,300 lives lost on our roads, and we talk about 100 truck drivers we're losing each year, but it's other drivers, other road users, as you touched on, Peter, that are sharing the highways with our heavy vehicle operators too. And those figures, mate, are frightening, absolutely frightening. And unfortunately, when we hear some sectors of the transport industry used to argue, yes, but it wasn't the truckie's fault. That's not the argument. It's not the argument. The argument is someone has died in a heavy vehicle accident. Now, it might not be the driver of the heavy vehicle. It's the other poor person that's been killed. And hence, that's why I've been so fierce in my advocacy for the new technologies in trucks, mate. The seeing eye machines. And as Peter, as you know, I still drive. I still run triple road trains up to the Kimberley. It keeps me grounded because the truckies tell me what I don't want to hear. They don't tell me what they think I might want to hear. And I have this equipment in the trucks that I drive. It is magnificent, forward-facing cameras. If there is an incident and it's not the driver's fault, we've now got the ability, real time, where the employer can get on the phone, and I know my friends who I drive for have done it, where their vehicles have been involved in fatalities. And I know the owner of the business within real time has rang the truck driver within the matter of minutes to say, mate, you did nothing wrong. How good is that, to be able to do that? Because what a lot of people don't realise, it's not just one life that's affected. There's many lives that are affected when we have a fatality. And that's why I've got to keep pushing for this technology, mate. And you know what? Seriously, mate, I'm not worried about a camera on me while I'm driving a truck. It's not in my bunk. And they're not looking at me. They've got more important things to do. But also, Peter, how important it is to have heavy vehicle rest areas. This is the greatest sleeper
Absolutely.
in this nation, mate. And, you know, I've got $140 million I've been handed to spend with the states and local governments, and I still can't roll it out quick enough. And, you know, states need to lift their games, mate. Shires need to lift their games. The money's sitting there. And I've got to encourage, we've got to get our not only our truck drivers, but all drivers on rural roads and our caravans, everyone, the ability to pull in somewhere safe off the highway, whether it's to have a sandwich, whether it's to check a tyre, or it's to get off the road for the night and have a camp or a power nap. So we've got to do a lot more work around that. And Peter, as you and I both know, while we've got roads on these highways that are not separated, we're going to continue to keep having these alarming numbers. And this is a great fear. And it's not Labor versus Liberal. It should never, ever be a political argument. All of us in this nation have to push in the right same direction, lifting each other, standing on each other's shoulders, not politicising it.
One of the things I love about the Friends for Road Safety in the Commonwealth is the mere fact that across political disciplines, people are focused on exactly what you say. It's everyone's got the same intent. That is to make certain that everyone can get home safe. And the issue specifically that you speak of in terms of being able to pull over to be safe. We want the compliance with the National Heavy Vehicle Law? Absolutely. But we've got to make certain that we're affecting it by having people to be able to not drive that extra 50 kilometres, but to be able to stop when they need to stop, and to be able to stop when they're tired, to be able to stop when they just need to have a break.
Well, Peter, you're spot on, and a classic example was, or is, there's a major freight route, a major route, Highway 1, as we all know, but on the western side of the country, running from Newman into Pilbara up to Port Hedland, 430 odd a day. It is like Pitt Street, mate, and over the years, because it's a major freight route, but we've encouraged over here from governments to get out there and see West Australia, put the caravan on the back and go for a drive, or the camper trailer and head out. And that's great. That's tremendous. But what had happened years ago, probably about, look, I'm just guessing now, 7, 8, 9 years ago, the miners in the Mid-West started exploding. The mines came out of nowhere, you know, because magnetite was being mined. And anyway, cut a long story short, with that came the challenges, and this is all over Australia. How do we move more freight? In this case, iron ore. Well, we just keep whacking more trailers on it. We've got super quads between Newman, between Newman and Hedland on the main highway, but also back at Marble Barraco, 220-ton quads, 4 trailers. This is massive gear, and the road was not fit for purpose. And the local tow truck driver up there, a real good guy, I was talking to him about it, Mike, and he had photos in January of 2023. 28 of these trailers fell over. Now, they don't just fall over, Peter, as everyone knows. If I can just explain, Mike had pictures of Coke cans on the side of the highway where the bitumen ended and the dirt went. I mean, 220 tonne, and you know, you're 65 metres down the back, 60 metres down the back. There's only one way to go, and this is what was happening. Thank goodness we've had some great conversations with the Minister for Transport over here and Infrastructure, and we've seen a massive widening of the roads. Thank goodness for that. But we were mixing caravans, cars, quads, general freight trailers over width, 8.5 metre loads. It was just a recipe for disaster. And 2 railway lines with 1.8 kilometre long trains that cross it in the dark. And, you know, in 2020s, this is what was happening. Right? There's a lot of work to be done, but just to round up on that, we have to be mindful. Our transport task does double every 15 to 20 years, Peter. There's going to be bigger and bigger trucks coming, you know, and we've got to really start putting some thought into this. And if I can be bold as to say, as part of a road safety strategy, we really need now to concentrate more freight on rail. We've got to get more freight on rail. Yes, and that's a challenge alone, but, you know, we can't keep adding bigger and longer and heavier trucks year after year after year, because the infrastructure spend cannot keep up with it. So we really, from a road safety point of view, really got to start looking at our freight challenges and how we move it safer, mate, safely. And that's It's not against trucks. That's my life.
Yeah.
Plenty to go around, but this is where we should be focusing as well.
Yep. I totally agree. And in fact, one of the things that when I've been both in West Australia and also up in Northern Territory to see the road trains with, in a place like Sydney where you're going to see B doubles. Well, let's double that. And then we say, how does a caravan, as you rightly point, overtake that if there's not an overtaking lane within 30 kilometres? Well, you get a lot of risk taking, and we're putting people's lives at risk when that happens. Whether it's a caravan or whether it's a high-speed vehicle, to actually overtake in a safe fashion when you're talking about 60 metres and you're doing 100 and it's 110 kilometres, that's going to take a very long time, and the amount of distance that you cover is probably half a kilometre, and plus you lead up and lead out of that. If you were doing the speed limit, it would be very unsafe. And so, again, what are we advocating if we can't let people, in that case, overtake? And as we increase the amount of freight, and as you say, we actually need to have the discussion about freight movement, not truck movement, so that we're actually getting the freight onto a rail system and investing in rail so that we reduce the increasing number of trucks that we've got on our roads. That's what we need to, and that's a really important conversation. One of the other things, or you had a little bit of a talk about the telematics. From your discussions with industry, and I think you mentioned a little bit earlier, having a camera on you is absolutely no issue. People have got better things to do than to watch what a truck is doing. But the prevention issues that the telematics systems actually provide, do you want to have a little bit of a talk about that? Because I think that's incredibly important.
Oh, look, absolutely. And I know when it first came out years back, the thought of cameras in the truck drivers were, whoa. Over the years, because I've actually had the involvement, I drive the trucks, I am one of the greatest supporters of this technology. And I could give you a couple of classic examples. When I first saw the technology was from the Seeing Eye Machines, was the fellow in Brisbane was showing me, and he had it in his case on the table. We're at a hotel, at a conference, and he set it down and he said, I'll show you how it works, Glenn. And all of a sudden it went boom, 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 boom. I nearly went through the roof. I said, oh, gee whiz. I said, no wonder. But he showed me footage of a truck driver in New South Wales who had got back to the yard, and the company had rang him and said, are you okay? And he said, yeah, why the fuck? Anyway, when he got back to the yard, they said, have a look at the footage. He had fallen asleep at the wheel, and it was on a bend. And I don't know if it was a left or right, but I'll just say it was a left-hand bend. He'd gone through the bush. Now, it was only a matter of about 20 or 30 metres, picked up on the road and had no idea. Now that was his lucky day and everyone else's lucky day, and he gave up truck driving. The driver saw that, and he did not know that he had fallen asleep. He said, that's it, I'm off the road. But I know my own experience coming down south of Port Ellen, one wonderful morning in the middle of spring, only last year, it would have been about 11 o'clock in the morning, Peter, and I'm singing to myself, as I do, and I shut my eye for a second, I must have really been getting into Kiki D and Amaruze, but anyway, and the seat let go, the bells went off. Well, it looked like a scene from the Flintstones, my head going through the roof like Dino. Frightened living daylights out of it. Then I started laughing to myself. I didn't get a phone call at all because the nerve centre on the other side of the world looked at that straight away in real time and thought, oh, yeah, he's having a signal. And I talk to truck drivers all the time where they have a, scratch their head or look out the window too long and it goes off, maybe the bell. What great technology. What harm is done there, mate? It is just... In fact, in my honest view, Peter, I think it should be compulsory with every heavy vehicle that is going out on our highways outside of the metro area. Now, I'll have all the naysayers and all the bedwetters jumping, oh, no, it's like mobile phones, mate. The cost is terrible. They're terribly high. We've got to do something about that. In my humble opinion, that's what the government should be doing. Government should be investing in this stuff.
Yep.
And you know what? If we've got it in police cars, or we've got it in tradies cars, anyone doing distance, let's not just say, let's just go to the heavy vehicle industry. For the sake of a little shake of the seat, the bell, how many lives can be saved? Now, this is groundbreaking technology.
Yeah.
We get it in, we get it in the vehicles early, and the cost over the 5 years of the payment of that vehicle will be, a bottle of water a week or less.
And so what we've got to be able to do is to talk about this to the community, because if we start to look at it, what are the technologies which, especially in terms of the ADRs, that we can say should be compulsory? And well, I think one of our great challenges is the fact that as Europe brings things in, we're usually 5 to 10 years behind them before we introduce technologies that are already in play. Like one of the things that I've been fighting for is to have things like the bloody reflective triangles not taking out of the vehicles before they come into Australia. This is crazy because we don't require it. So there's lots of things I think that we can learn, and to have those discussions with every government, but obviously at the Commonwealth level with the federal government, to say, this is just a safety issue. What is the logic in having our systems different? One of the things that would be great to talk about is some of your road safety responsibilities in terms of the chairing of committees.
Sure. Well, thanks, Peter. And I'm blessed that I've been on the Rural, Regional Affairs and Transport Committee for 19 years, over 19 years. I've chaired it for over 17. I can't get away from it, but it's the transport side and the infrastructure side too that's very, very important. We've done a number of road safety inquiries, as you're well aware, but I've also had the privilege of chairing the Parliamentary Friends of Road Safety, which I do that with Lou and before him, Darren, really great advocates. This is where we come together as a parliament, no red, no blue, just, elected officials trying to do our best to keep people on the road safe and save lives. So that's been a full-on year, so busy, mate. We have the ability where as yourself, Peter, companies or individuals or colleges or anyone, foundations can come and put on a day, and we invite everyone from the parliament to come in and talk to the experts and talk to people who are in this space like yourself, all day in, day out, get the feel of what's happening out there on the highways in their electorates. I also have the privilege of chairing, I didn't name this, but it's called the Parliamentary Friends of Trucks, Trailers, Transport and Logistics. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. I call it the Committee for Bull Bars, Air Horns and Turntables. But anyway, where we have the transport industry coming into Parliament, meeting with ministers and members, particularly to talk about safety, to talk about infrastructure, to talk about what they're doing to try and make the roads better and what they need. So it keeps me flat out, as well as chairing the Heavy Vehicle Rest Area Strategy Group. That's my other one that keeps me flat out. But it's amazing because even though I am not the minister, I'm not the Assistant Minister for Road Safety, I still are doing a lot of work in this area, and still working very closely with yourself, Peter, and others who are not strangers to us, who still every time in Canberra pop in, come and see me. I get invited to all their conferences, trying to get to those conferences when their sitting weeks has been hard. Hence, I wasn't in Tassie, which I would love to have been. So they say there's no rest for the wicked, but I haven't done anything wrong. And I'll tell you what, I'm flat out, mate, but loving every minute of it, mate, and just absolutely loving every minute. And it's magnificent. The road safety advocates still pick up the phone, they call me, and, we still catch up. You and I catch up every time you're in Canberra, mate. And I value those friendships. I really do. But we have got a lot of work to do together. And as you said, Peter, you didn't say it, sorry, my words, but we keep dumbing cars down to bring them into Australia. It's now time. There needs to be a review on the ADRs. Absolutely, there needs to be. And, the greatest purchaser of vehicles in this nation are governments.
Governments, absolutely.
And we know between Commonwealth, state, local councils, all these brand new vehicles, if we've got to lift the ADRs up, in 5 years' time, they're the second-hand market. 10 years' time.
Right.
We're proud in this nation. We haven't got the old beat-up old Holdens and Fords and Valiants that when you and I grew up, Pete, where you aspired to get your first car was 20 years old. you know,
I'd
and it
like
wasn't
to-
roadworthy. And now, you know, to do this, mate, this is not hard. This is not
Yeah.
hard. You know, to spread that cost across governments, break it down yearly, monthly, weekly into the payoff. And with today's school, primary school kids will be into the greatest technology by the time they leave high school in their second-hand vehicle. And yet, as a nation, we're still lagging. We're still not.
Yeah, look, I think there's a whole lot of incentivisation that we need to do, both in terms of getting people into better cars, safer cars, and also within heavy vehicles. You know, when we look at the fleet age, I think it's about 12 years with the light vehicles and about 20 plus years for heavy vehicles. And there's a lot of things that I think we need to, over time, at a policy level, talk about in terms of how do we actually upgrade the fleet. Well, it was 2 years ago, I was over in Gothenburg in Sweden, and I was with Volvo Trucks, in actual fact, at that time. And so I took one of the, I think it was about a 60-ton, driving it around their test track, and it was one of the most fantastic vehicles I've ever driven in. And, you know, I've learned on a 35, 40-year-old truck when I was doing my oils for it, and you recognise the advances in the technologies, and that will save lives in itself. So I think as governments, we need to actually say, how do we not cost, how do we invest in safer technologies within all our vehicle fleet? And that's, I think, something that we need to have that very open discussion about, starting off with, you know, the light vehicles and the ADRs, and also, of course, talking about the National Heavy Vehicle Law. The key is to make certain that people understand why we're doing stuff. Nothing to do with any state. This is about protecting everyone so they get home safe. No one wants their loved one to be killed. How do we do it together? And I often say, as opposed to just focusing on, you know, the driver, what we say is you're the white knight. Your only responsibility when you get behind the wheel is to ensure everyone gets home safe. End of story. That's your only responsibility at the end of the day. Is there anything that you want to say in conclusion?
Peter, firstly, thank you, mate. To Sarah, thank you very much for your friendship. Thank you for your support. I mean, we've now known each other since Alex's days, and I'd say that would be probably about 6 or 7, maybe a little bit longer now. Mate, and I really, truly value you popping in every time I see you in camera. And, mate, the work that you're doing, Peter, thank you so much on behalf of everyone, mate. I wish you didn't have to do this, but thank goodness for people like yourself, mate. And as I said, I'm just humbled. And I can honestly say there are far, far, far many people, I think, more worthy than me, mate, but I will proudly accept it because of it just reminds me of my old great mate that like I said, I do miss him every day, mate. But he was such a warrior and an advocate for road safety. And we need more of Alex and we need more of you, Peter, so we're going to have less fatalities, mate. And we're all going to get in it together. So thank you so much. And I just hope this year brings far better numbers than what we're seeing now, mate. And let's just remember, we've got to keep talking, Peter, because the work that you're doing, mate, not going to send the country broke. It's not going to send it broke, I should say, sorry. It's not. There's a lot of things we can do in the road safety space that cost nothing, mate. We just need governments to come down, instead of hosting and nodding, actually opening the doors and say, well, Peter, and to all those in the road safety advocacy space, what do we need to do? And then make it happen.
Senator Glenn Sterl, I want to say thank you for being the road safety advocate that you are, and I'll look forward to presenting you with the actual award when you're next over in Canberra. I'll make certain that we catch up. And in honour of Senator Alex Gallacher, on the 1st of January 2025, I'm really proud that Senator Glenn Sterl, you are the award winner for 2025. Thanks, mate, and I look forward to catching up very soon.
Thanks, Peter. I'll have the kettle on, mate. Happy New Year. See you, Canberra, mate. Thank you, Peter.
Happy New Year. Cheers.